Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about SSD drives, what they are, how they work, the different types of them, and what you need to know before buying one. So whether you're a gamer, editor, student, or just an everyday user who wants a better performing computer, this guide will help you choose the right SSD for your needs. Let's dive in. Okay, so first things up, what actually is an SSD? Well, SSD stands for solid state drive. It is basically a storage device that uses flash memory instead of those spinning disks like a traditional hard drive. That means there are no moving parts inside, which makes it much faster, more reliable, and more efficient than a regular hard drive. SSDs can read and write data at 5 to 20 times the speed of an HDD. On average, it takes an SSD about 10 milliseconds to read data, while it takes an HDD 10 times that amount of time. And that makes a huge difference in terms of performance, especially when it comes to loading programs, saving files, and multitasking. Plus, because SSDs don't have any moving parts, they're much more durable and reliable than HDDs. They can handle more usage cycles without degrading. So if you want a drive that will last a long time and not slow down over time, then an SSD is a great choice. Additionally, SSDs are more energy efficient than HDDs, which means they consume less power and produce less heat. So, if you're looking to save on battery life or improve your system's efficiency, then an SSD is definitely worth considering. But what about the price? Well, compared to HDDs, SSDs used to be more expensive, but the prices have been dropping lately. Now, the exact price will depend on a lot of factors such as the capacity, speed, and form factor. But generally speaking, SSDs now cost around the same as a traditional hard drive. So if you're looking for a better performing and more reliable drive, you don't have to spend a fortune. Alright, so now that we know what an SSD is, let me tell you how it works. Well, at the heart of an SSD lies NAND flash memory. It's basically a bunch of tiny memory cells arranged in a grid. Each cell can either be charged or uncharged, representing either a 0 or a 1. To represent binary data, multiple cells are grouped together to form a bit. So, depending on the type of SSD, each bit can be represented by 1, 2, 3, or even 4 bits per cell. Now, as you might have guessed, writing to these cells over and over again wears them out. So, to extend the life of the drive, SSDs use something called wear leveling, which basically involves moving data around to make sure that no cell gets worn out too quickly. SSDs also use something called garbage collection, which is kind of like cleaning up the house. As data gets deleted from certain cells, those cells become empty. Garbage collection moves around the data in the SSD to group all the empty cells together so they can be erased all at once. Another important component in an SSD is the controller, kind of like the brain, that manages where data is written, read, and erased. It's constantly monitoring the status of the cells and making sure that everything runs smoothly. Now, let's talk about the different types of NAND flash memory used in SSDs. There are 4 main types: single level cell, multi-level cell, triple level cell, and quadruple level cell. SLC is the fastest and most durable, but is also the most expensive. It's commonly used in servers and military applications where speed and reliability are paramount. MLC is a good middle ground between speed, cost, and reliability. It's great for most mainstream users who want a high-performance drive at a reasonable price. TLC is the most common type of SSD you'll find in consumer electronics. It's relatively affordable and offers decent performance. However, it's not as durable as MLC or SLC. QLC is the newest and cheapest type of NAND flash. It's great for general storage or as a secondary drive, but it's not recommended for mission-critical applications where reliability is key. Alright, so now that you know the basics of how SSDs work, let's take a look at the different types of SSD form factors. The most common ones are 2.5-inch SATA SSDs, M2 SSDs, PCIe SSDs, and U2 SSDs. 2.5-inch SATA SSDs are the traditional kind that looks like a small laptop hard drive. It has a SATA connector on one side and a standard 2.5-inch form factor on the other. These drives are easy to install and compatible with most computers. The downside is that they can be bulky and take up space inside your computer case. M2 SSDs are the newer, smaller, and faster kind that looks like a small stick of RAM. These drives are ideal for smaller form factor computers such as mini ITX builds or laptops. They connect directly to the motherboard using an M2 slot and can support both SATA and NVMe protocols. PCI SSDs are high-speed add-in cards that plug into a PCIe slot on the motherboard. They offer the fastest speeds but are typically only found in gaming PCs or workstations. U2 drives are mostly used in enterprise settings such as servers or data centers. They have a larger form factor and connect to a special U2 slot on a server's motherboard. Another thing you need to consider is the interface. There are two main types of SSD interfaces, SATA and NVMe. SATA SSDs are connected through the SATA interface, which is the same interface used by traditional hard drives. These drives are limited to speeds of around 550 megabytes per second, which is fast but not as fast as NVMe SSDs. NVMe SSDs, on the other hand, connect directly to the PCIe Express interface, allowing them to take advantage of the full bandwidth of the PCIe bus. This can result in much faster speeds of up to 7,000 megabytes per second or more. NVMe SSDs are ideal for demanding applications such as gaming, video editing, or running multiple applications at once. So in a nutshell, here's a quick comparison table of the different SSD types. As you can see, there are pros and cons to each type, and the best one for you will depend on your specific needs. Now, before you buy an SSD, there are a few things you should keep in mind. First, check if your system supports M2 or NVMe drives. Not all motherboards or systems support these newer technologies, so you might be limited to using a SATA SSD. Second, consider your workload. Are you using the drive for gaming, video editing, or just general storage? This will help you determine the level of performance you need. Third, for reliability, stick to known brands such as Samsung, Crucial, Western Digital, or Kingston. These brands have a reputation for producing high-quality SSDs that meet industry standards. Fourth, if you're looking for pure speed, go NVMe. These drives can offer the fastest speeds available today. However, if you need a lot of storage, a QLC SATA SSD may be enough for your needs. Alright, so hopefully now you know a little more about SSD drives and feel more confident about buying one. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you liked it, subscribe for more Tech Insight videos like this every week. Until next time, happy computing!